Hi, welcome to Quaff TV, folks. We are lucky enough to have this man here with us today in Quaff headquarters, Mr. Max Allen.
Welcome to the couch.
Who has just released or is about to release?
No, out there already. Been out for a few weeks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you probably already own
Breaking
this.
story then, is it?
This book.
In fact, you know what? Is that apparently it's now online as well. You can get it as an ebook.
Oh.
So that's old news, people. See you later.
You're going to be giving away some free ebooks. No, the Future Makers. Now, a lot of wine books come out, come and go, but this one we had a look through, and I think it's a little bit different. I'd like to just start things by saying we were, you start the book with, in your intro, a little mention of a man named Anton van Klopper, who we have had the pleasure of meeting and having lunch with from Lucy Margot. And when we were up there, actually, we were chatting and getting quite drunk. And we were chatting about wine writers and communicators. And he said, so, well, boys, you tell me, who's a wine writer that you respect? And I've gone, oh, I really like the way Philip White writes. He's nearly thrown me out. He's gone, there's only one serious wine writer really, isn't there? And that's Max Allen, we thought. Okay, so
well, there you go.
So there's some sort of mutual admiration going on there.
Mutual something or other. It's interesting actually because that's very flattering that you should tell me that. I'm very pleased to hear that. Because Anton's once you get through the little forward bit, the first words in the book are Anton van Klopper. And I didn't want him to get a big head. And in fact, I actually wrote that introduction a couple of years ago. Because I've been working on the book for about 5 years on and off. But when I first went up there, you know what it's like up there. Did you go up to his place?
Yeah.
You know what it's like up there. It's kind of frontier winemaking. It is pretty wild.
It's frontier living.
It is frontier living.
Yeah.
He's living his philosophy of the way he makes wine, which is as naturally as possible, and not getting too, not intervening too much. And when I met him a couple of years ago, I thought, well, this is it. He is everything. It is mutual. He is everything. He is everything that I'm trying to write about in this book, because he is offering a complete alternative, a whole package of an alternative to everything that we think about Australian wine, or this kind of impression of Australian wine that has been built up over the last 10 or 15 years, both here and around the world, that it's clean and technically perfect, and it's made in gleaming stainless steel wineries, and it's usually in a supermarket for £3.99 on special, and it's got lovely varietal flavour, and it's kind of just a bit boring, And that's the image that we've got of Australian wine, for better or worse. And he was a guy that was completely everything that isn't. So it's natural winemaking, it's wines, you've tasted those wines, they've got so much, every barrel that you draw a sample out of, it's got character and personality, and it just gives you chills, and it's made with integrity and authenticity and all those big words. I thought, well, there you go. He's got to be the introduction to the book, because some people will pick up that book and have no idea, particularly around the world, that anything like that exists in Australia. And I think it was really important to kind of promote that idea that there's so much more to Australian wine than even people who live just up the road know.
It's really not going to help him he sells out now and he only makes about 20 cases.
I know.
Make more booze, will you? It's selfish of you to make one barrel of each of your things, Anton.
I know.
You haven't done anyone any favours, right?
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry about that. But the funny thing is too, as I say, working on this for years, there's some things in there that I was writing and I was thinking, this is a bit out there, right? So there's stuff about biodynamic viticulture, there's following the moon, and planting, pruning on the full moon and racking on a full moon, and all that kind of really wacky stuff. And there's bits in there about making wine without sulphur, and making these natural wines. It's all a bit trendy. And since writing that book, some people have gone even further than that. So I'm thinking it's actually a bit boring and a bit boring and conventional now.
Yeah, it moves fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does move. This is the whole point. It's moving so fast.
But it's a bit beyond just a winemaking philosophy with someone. We got the sense that he's really subscribing to a movement that is about a way of life. It's about not just sustainable farming, it's about sustainable living, it's about harmony with your fellow man and friends, and it does go to those places, and he certainly goes to those places, but not without a scientific background. So it's not like it's coming from, I couldn't be bothered studying, so I'll just do it, I'll just wing it. It's, no, I did. I duxed my winemaking class, and I've got a science background. I just don't think that's necessarily the way. And that's powerful.
It's very powerful, but it's what Australia can do so brilliantly well, is that we can approach something that it does look a bit ropey and a bit hairy from the outside. But these guys have often, as you say, they've been through really rigorous training, and they can apply that really kind of, it's also that really Australian can-do attitude, you know, I'm just going to go out there and make this bloody wine. And that you combine that training with that, that ability to just say, well, nobody's done this before, but I'm going to give it a crack. And you come up with these amazing wines. And that was the encouraging thing about working on this over that 5-year period. And you're finding the same thing when you go out there on the road. You know, you go out there with a premise that, you know, I think this is a really valid way for Australian wine to go. So sustainable viticulture, alternative varieties, all those things I've been crapping on about in my columns for years. And you find more people out there than you even expected, you know. So I was thinking, at times I was thinking, it's going to be a bit of a struggle in some of these regions to find people that are doing this, and then you stumble across somebody and go, oh, that's fantastic, you know, it's actually more relevant than even I thought it was going to be. So it's really encouraging.
So they're the extremists, and you've got to, so for, you know, or the forgers, and you've got to push the boundaries to the extreme to move the middle, as they say. So what about the middle? What about the commercial winemakers? We certainly get a sense, and I like, you had a quote there from Steve Webber from De Bordelais, that you know, we're not calling ourselves winemakers anymore, we're calling ourselves wine growers. And we've certainly seen that certainly seems to have mainstream acceptance, even amongst big contract group executive winemakers. Yeah. And that's got to be the result of this sort of,
I hope so,
attitude of,
yeah, I hope so. And so there's a few things in here. It was really, because even though starting with Anton, who is, as I say, about as much the opposite of your commercial Australian winemaker as it's possible to get, it was really important that the first chapter, when I look into the regions of Australia, is the industry along the river, the irrigated regions, the Riverland and Murray-Darling places, the Murray River regions, because if we can't make wine at a commercial level that is available to everybody at an affordable price in a more sustainable and interesting way, then we might as well just give up, because we can't, Australian wine can't just be Anton van Kloppers.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be.
It'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting.
only 60 of us can
That's
get our
right.
hands on it.
Exactly.
There's a fair few more wine
Yeah.
drinkers, thankfully.
Everybody else would have to drink New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, and we wouldn't want that, would we?
Yeah, well,
You might as well just pack it in and top yourself if it comes to that.
So, can I show a picture?
Yeah,
Can I do
please,
that play school thing?
go forward.
Well, I wanted to, like, it's,
Do you want a song as well?
Hey, it's Saturday or something, I should put it on there, and there should be a close-up camera over it. Anyway,
Sorry, budget doesn't allow
budget.
that.
So
really?
there's really, it was really important to put pictures like that in, right? Because that is the Riverland. Is that going to go there?
Go close.
Let's have a go. If I may. There you go. Check it out.
Really important to put a picture like that in, because that's the Riverland. It is the heart of the commercial wine producing regions of Australia. This is where all the $6 Chardonnay comes from, right?
Yeah.
And this vineyard here supplies a big company, one of the top 10 companies, and yet it's being run using biodynamic viticultural methods.
That's your
So there's no chemicals put on, there's no synthetic fertilizers, there's these organic biodynamic preparations, including, in this case, quartz crystals that have been ground up to a fine powder and then sprayed into the atmosphere in homeopathic doses to increase the vine's ability to kind of harness the sunlight energy of the cosmos, right? And you know,
You're going to taste some minerality in that wine.
It sounds
That's
completely nuts, and I'm fully aware of this. And but this grower, he's so into just the philosophy and the whole approach, and the fruit from this vineyard. Anybody who will tell you from the big company who buys this fruit, they'll say that's the best. You know, it's one of the best vineyards we take fruit from. The fruit's immaculate, it tastes fantastic. It goes into our slightly more expensive wines. You know, it's not the dirt cheap wines. If he can do it, everybody up there can do it. You know, it was really important to me to put at the beginning of this book, these ideas are not just little cottage industry ideas. They are ideas that the whole industry can take on and produce a sustainable, viable industry to keep these communities alive, you know.
Yeah.
And that does sound a bit kind of zealous and a bit soapboxy and a bit chest thumping, but I don't care.
Got to do something, don't we?
Yeah.
Really. Has to go somewhere. This idea of terroir, which you dedicated a fair bit of page space to, I was really impressed with. And as I was sort of going through the book and writing notes of what was I going to ask you, oh yeah, and then you answered it, and I go, oh, okay. And then this, you know, I've always disliked the fact that it's we adopt this French word, and that we don't seem to have a word in the English language that translates well. Is that true?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Any wine book you pick up, and anybody who talks about terroir, which is this French concept that the land and the soil and the slope and the sun and the wind and the rain and how the vines are trained all contribute to a unique sense of place or a unique taste in the wine. I think that's a bit long-winded. Can't we come up with something that's a bit...
If you hyphenate it all.
Yeah. Terroir. And it's a word that obviously relates to territory and terrain and all those things. So you can you can hear in the word what it's about. So I thought, well, for me, terroir is a unique combination of country, climate and culture. It's kind of about 5 words.
Country, climate and culture.
Let that sink in.
Okay.
Country, as in landscape and everything that goes into the landscape. And that's a very Australian use of the word too, taking off the and just using country, as there's this connection between us and country. Climate, that's easy. Cold climate wines, different from hot climate wines. And culture, because that's the bit that we forget to talk about. Because vines don't just go and march into a paddock and plant themselves. You know, we have to make the decision to go out there and put Pinot Noir on that bit there and Chardonnay over there. And that's our cultural background that makes all those decisions. And I thought, well, there you go. That's a lovely. You can use it if you like.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about
Country,
trademarking
climate.
it. I'm thinking about trademarking it and licensing it out. So every time somebody says the unique combination of country, I'll be on them like a ton of bricks. I tell you.
Well, what I did like is that you did say that there was an Aboriginal word, or probably several Aboriginal words. Because there are a lot of dialects. But this word pankara, that it is. I think you referred to it as, "This is my place. I belong here."
Yeah. Well, this is Jeff Grossett's fantastic horizon broadening change of thinking that he suggested that, you know, in the Kaurna people language, who are the people who are the original custodians of exactly where we're sitting right now, they have a word called Punkara, and it refers to the territory. So it's this idea that every person has a bit of land that is theirs, but it's not theirs in our the Western sense of like it belongs to us. It's more about I belong here. And he was suggesting that if we could kind of just engage with that thinking, that in some parts of Australia, you know, there's some vines like that beautiful old vine on the cover that's been there for 160 years. That vine belongs there. You know, that land doesn't belong to the Henschkes necessarily. Oh, yes, it does. But, you know, it's more important to think about that vine belonging to that country. And I thought that was just amazing because, as you say, the language groups around Australia mean that it will be possible in those areas, and it's harder the further south you go in many cases, to find a similar word that would have incredible local resonance. So rather than using a French word from, you know, that brings up ideas of Burgundy in the Middle Ages, we can find words that are about real Australian connection with land, which is a bit airy-fairy. But I was just really engaged by this fantastic idea. So I was able to go and eventually talk to some Southern Victorian Aboriginal elders and try and find out what the words were in at least in places like the Yarra Valley, you know. And so it was just amazing to talk to these people. And when I explained what Jeffrey Grossett was talking about, they went, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, I get that. Cool. Well, that's it makes perfect sense to me." And I just thought, oh, that was, you know, we should be doing more of that kind of thing. Because if we can, as Auntie Joy from the Wurundjeri people said to me, you know, language is about belonging. So when you use language, it gives you a connection to country. So it's really important for her that the language is maintained, because it means that there will always be this connection to country. So if you create a situation where people who are growing wine and making wine feel in some way spiritually connected to the place that they're growing it, it's going to give them a sense of pride and a sense of belonging, and it's going to make them want to sustain that viticulture in that place for a long time.
Yeah, and sadly I think that the fact that it's not in our modern English language means that no one ever found a need to need to use that word.
That's
which
right.
means it's not part of our culture, our philosophy. Whereas, and you know, the Italians have got that word for food and wine all as one thing.
Yeah.
Is it labinamento? Oh shit!
I don't know. That's what I've got. As
La
long as
Bina
you
Good
use,
point.
It's La Bina Min or something, you know.
as long as you use the hand gesture,
Yeah.
it'll sound authentic.
But you know what I mean? So that's a real sign that that's integrated
Yeah,
into
yeah,
their
yeah.
culture and their way of life, and has been for many thousands of years. Well, let's coin one. What's the word? What can we use? Let's do it.
Well, I don't know, because it would be.
You can't
punk
own
rock.
it, no.
Here, it's punk
Punk
rock.
rock.
You see.
So, but it needs to be a different word for different
In
places.
different
That's gonna
places.
be in the
That's
tune.
why
That won't stick. No, that won't stick.
No,
Look,
that's gonna be
that's
a
very
real issue.
respectful, and we really like that, but it won't stick.
It's a marketing nightmare.
Yeah, it's a marketing
I
nightmare.
realise that, but it's
punk rock.
as a
I like
way
punk
of
rock.
just. I mean, again, it's just as a way of opening up a conversation. You know, I reckon that's a lot of what I do. I'm not trying to come up with definitive statements. I'm trying to come up with just suggest new ideas and new ways of thinking. Or even old ways of thinking that might still be valid. So again, it was really important to have play school moment again. Is that working? It's too far?
No, go as far as you like.
Hopefully that's not going to come up very well, but hopefully it will. So that's really important to put that painting in, which is an old 19th century painting of a vineyard done by an Aboriginal elder in the Yarra Valley.
Yeah, get that up.
I'm going to do it. 'Cause that's...
We're probably breaking all sorts of copyright laws and everything. But too late now.
Did you sign that? No.
Just having that painting in there just gives me, because again, you know, you hear about people overseas talking about Australian wine, it's New World wine, you know, and then you turn around and you say, well, there is a painting that was done by a man who was present when John Batman signed the so-called treaty with the Wurundjeri people in Melbourne in 1835, right? So this guy goes back to he was born before white people arrived in what is now Melbourne. That's quite an ancient connection. Yeah. And he's doing a painting of a vineyard that was owned by a mate of his in the late 19th century. Now, if that's not New World. There's something really strong and powerful and profound there. And we need to recognise that kind of connection. We haven't just been doing this for a while. You know, Australians have been making wine for close to 200 years. Now, yes, obviously, in comparison to the Georgians and the Greeks and things, who've got a couple of thousand years on us, yes, but there is this, you know, the soil, the country that we grow grapes in is ancient. You know, it's some of the oldest soil in the world. And as there's this big fight on in McLaren Vale, as you've probably spoken about, where the government wants to build, or developers want to build houses, and the vignerons have done the research and found that the soil that they want to build the houses on is prime vineyard country that goes, some of the rocks in there are 650 million years old. And you think, which would you rather have? A nice glass of wine that it's made from roots that dig down deep into 650 million year old ground, or another housing development? I know which I'd rather have. So this is all about kind of promoting the idea of what's important. Is wine more important than houses? Is it elitist to say yes? I don't care.
Good. Because I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.